welcome to Oops All Dragons, yours and mine and everybody's favorite nerd podcast about tabletop role-playing games and nerd stuff and whatever and blah blah blah. You know, we're here. We talk about stuff, and you know what? I enjoy our conversations, and apparently other people do too. I'm Lisa.
I'm Varun.
And we've got a guest episode. This is a real special one. We've got in the studio today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. I'm Charlene MacPherson. I am a mental health therapist who runs D&D Therapeutic Games.
There you go.
Aha.
Sorry.
You buried the lead a little bit there. Yeah, so it's something that we've talked about before on the podcast. We've had other guests talk about, you know, the qualities of D&D and role-playing games that allow you to explore certain things and work things out. And now we have somebody here, a professional to really back that
Does
up.
That, yeah.
So that people don't call me crazy for saying that the play pretend game is good for my brain.
Telling you.
It's very
so much
validating.
Fun. Yep. I'm glad I could validate you.
But before we really get into it, Varun, I haven't spoken to you in like a month. What's up, bud?
Oh, we've recorded so many episodes that we just,
I genuinely don't remember when the last time it was that we recorded. If that gives any insight into
for the listener, it doesn't matter. But yeah, for us, it's been a hot minute. But for me, so what I have been doing, I have been working through my pile of shame of Gunpla. I have actually worked through a good couple, actually building them up, finishing them, painting them, all that stuff. So that's been fun. It's a money sink of a hobby. If you just don't build them, then you just have a bunch of boxes in your house. So I'm getting away from that. And then I've also still been playing through whatever games from my pile of shame there. I have many piles of shame of games I've gotten on sale and just never played. So I've been playing through Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. I think I mentioned that last time. That's a long game. At least if you're trying to 100% it, which I don't think I will, because some of the stuff you have to do is kind of dumb, but I'll at least unlock all the characters, which is still like 100+ characters. And some of them are easy to get, some of them are hard to get, but it's like all the Marvel characters from like the comics and stuff, minus the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Thanks, licensing. Some of the best ones just don't show up in the game. Thanks. And let me see. And then I just got done running some D&D for our buddies at Flynn's. We'll mention them a little later on. I actually did like a little 2-shot of that involved the kind of standard stuff, an infection of the land, animals going crazy. What is causing this? Oh, it's a big spooky thing in a mountain. Oh, there's a slime and a Zorn and a bunch of deadly fungus and like, how do they solve all this? It involves riddles. Guess what? Like, it was a whole thing.
Oh man, I love a riddle.
So, yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to beyond just like trying to hang out with people when I get a chance.
Oh man.
Oh, and I'll mention it now because I literally did the other day and I'll never mention it again. I saw the Demon Slayer anime in the theater, which is the last 2 episodes of the Entertainment District arc and the first hour-long episode of the Swordsmith Village arc. It's nice. Seeing it on the big screen is awesome because that animation's super pretty. All right, that's what I've been up to. I've
just been revisiting a lot of stuff that I don't know, the gloomy weather out here. It's been raining in LA for what feels like 2 months straight.
It's a new one for you.
I know, it's crazy. We had like this weird, like literal blizzard, a quote unquote blizzard by you know, LA County standards. It was a blizzard. Like, it snowed in the valley but like it melted before it hit the ground. But like all the mountains are like snow capped. It's kind of wild. Everything is green. It's crazy. You can actually see like driving around during the daytime, I'm actually able to like see things on the side of the mountains, on the side of the hills that like I normally can't see because of the smog. Like it's literally cleared the air, the rain. It's God, look at me. Talk about the weather. But listen, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff, all right? This is the thing they don't tell you about adulthood, is that talking about the weather is kind of fun, actually.
I haven't seen something green in so long.
Do you know how badly, like, one of the main things I miss about Florida is taking a nap while it's, like, raining cats and dogs outside, and I've actually gotten a couple of nights of that, and, like, it's been the best sleep I've gotten.
You gotta get like a white noise machine that just does rain.
No, I literally my YouTube suggestions right now is literally just 15 different 10-hour rain and thunderstorm videos. Okay. For sleep and relaxation. There's rain on a tin roof, rain in a fairy tale meadow. There's one that's like thunderstorm in Hobbiton, like.
As a therapist, I approve.
Yeah, I just go in there when I'm about to go to bed. I go in there, I put on the first one that I see. I set a timer for like stop playing after 2 hours. Put my phone on sleep mode, like a light. But I haven't been having to use the fake rain. I've had real rain. It's exciting. But the weather's really had me in the mood for like nostalgic things. So I've been revisiting a couple of things. I've been like rewatching, like I've just been rewatching a lot of old Cinderella movies. Honestly, I've rewatched Ella Enchanted recently. Mirror Mirror, which is a Snow White. I find not at all a fairy tale movie, arguably a fairy tale movie, but I finally watched Showgirls.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm also surprised it's taken me this long to watch it. Wow. That,
I would have sworn you would see that movie a long time
anyone
ago.
who knows me is like, what do you mean you haven't seen the Glitter and Tits movie? And now my brain is like, so much of my brain is taken up by, you should come up and do my nails sometime. It's so fucking good. It's so good. And she goes, never mind, I think I'm too old for that horrorish look. Wow. It really, that movie, it didn't change anything in my brain chemistry because I think my brain chemistry was exactly perfect for that movie already. It just fit in. It just fit into the wonderful mosaic kaleidoscope that is the landscape of media that makes up my brain. It's great. So that's what I've been up to, is just sort of, I've also been re-listening to the Magnus Archives, which is like a spooky serial storytelling podcast.
You mentioned them, yeah.
I've definitely talked about it a lot. I think this is like my fourth re-listen through it, because the sound design is great, and I really love the plot of it, the story of it, because it's about like basically physical manifestations of like some basic fears. There's like the dark and being buried alive and spiders and infestations, and like it's just so good. And if you haven't listened to it, like the whole thing is out, and every episode is a pretty quick listen. They're each about like 20 minutes long once you like skip through the ads and the intro and stuff. Like in like 4 or 5 days I've gotten through a lot of the episodes already, because it like starts out as like a like monster of the week kind of thing, but as by the end of the first season they introduce the overarching plot, and then it like develops from there. It's really good. It's just good. Anyway, that's what I've been up to.
I'm literally writing that down,
It's
like,
so
right
bad.
now.
And the
Magnus
only other
Archives.
exciting thing that's happened since the last time we recorded is in our game, and I've honestly been thinking about this a lot, is in our game, Varun, that you DM, Dot, my character is finally free of her weird blood curse that she got for fucking around and finding out. And I don't know if I should air this out here or if we should talk about this later, but I made a realization. So you had me fight that big snake guy, the guardian.
Yeah.
I should have been making concentration checks on that hex. And I don't think I made a single concentration check during that.
This is what I get. This is what I get for depending on the players to know their shit.
I didn't realize it until it was a week later, and I was on my computer, and I actually finally closed the window, the Roll20 window, and it was still open to that battle set, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh no. Should I say something? And then it took me another week to decide, I guess I'm gonna say something, but then I was like, no, I'm gonna save it for the podcast, it'll be funny.
Oh God. Whatever. We've already come this far.
It's done. It's
we're
fine.
not gonna undo
I mean,
that.
one way or another, I would have pulled it off. So,
You were super close to dying. You know that, right?
I absolutely was. Mhm. But it's fine. It's fine.
Let's just say, the fate was on your side that day.
Chalk it up to narrative.
Didn't
Just chalk it up
mention
to
that
narrative.
C tag.
Just chalk it up to narrative and keep it pushing. Listen, I shouldn't have to mention the C tag. We all know that hex is concentration. What do you
I
mean?
didn't.
Or no, it wasn't hex. It was witch bolt.
Ah, okay, that. Oh,
Yeah,
to
that
do
was
the
the one.
constant damage.
Yeah.
Hex does. I didn't think it did.
But hex is also concentration. But it was the witch bolt that I kept
Yes,
activating.
you kept
I
hitting
should have
with the
been
witch-
rolling concentration checks on that.
Okay, that was. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, no, there's no way. Why? How was I able to do that in 3 or 4 rounds? That's crazy.
I've got to remember to ask when people do things like that. Is there spell
I mean, I
concentration?
put it in the VTT chat. It
You
was
did.
there.
You did. You know what? That's fair. I didn't catch it. I got to be better about that. I have to be able to kill you more efficiently. That's just
Yeah,
damn.
exactly. If you want me dead, you gotta pay attention.
Charlene, I don't know if you've listened to any of our episodes, but I'm not the type of DM who's out to kill my players. Definitely not. I like to see my players succeed, but also I'm the type of DM who is if I wanted to kill you, I could say just boom, a meteor hits you and you die.
Right.
That's boring. If someone's gonna go down, I want to give them the rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I want
Right.
to set them up and let them, tip over the dominoes.
And
way better.
my habit as a player is that I fall for the bait every time.
Same.
I really do.
When I'm playing, I'm that chaotic player that's I know this is a bad idea, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
See,
and then
the
consequences happen.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be called Dungeons and Dragons. It should be called Choices and Consequences.
Yes.
Because my problem is there are times where I recognize that this is a bad idea, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I don't think the character would recognize that this is a bad idea, or that it's an impulse decision. So I'm just gonna she would jump into it or whatever. But then there are times that Lisa, legitimately does not recognize that there is a hook through the worm. And I'm just going, ooh, worm.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, worm?
Oh, worm?
Looks tasty.
Oh, God, how convenient. I was so hungry.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Lisa? Mm-hmm.
No, that's it.
All right. So Charlene, what about you? What have you been up to?
I actually have been catching up on Dimension 20.
Yeah! Have you been watching Never After?
Yes, I caught up. I just caught up yesterday. Yeah, I caught up yesterday, and I went to go play the next episode, and I was like, "Where is it? Where is it? No, I caught up. I gotta wait now. No."
The
My
absolute
God.
horror of catching up to a show.
Yeah, I know, it's so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, like say I was also a couple episodes behind. I caught up this week, and like I'm like, what I've been doing is every time I catch up, then I'll go in and I'll watch a couple of episodes of like a previous season. So
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too.
Yeah, I've been slowly watching Starstruck Odyssey, but I'm honestly considering going back and rewatching Crown of Candy, because Crown of Candy, like, rewrote a lot of, because Crown of Candy was the first season that I watched of Dimension 20, and it like really rewired some of what I thought D&D could be.
Yeah,
Like,
it definitely is different. Like I started off, watching Critical Role like when they first started streaming, so when it was like
whoa,
50
OG.
people on. Yeah. And so I've always been used to Matt Mercer, and I'm like, love him, but I will never be a Matt Mercer. I'm too goofy, like, that type of thing. But as soon as I watched Fantasy High and watched Brendan Mulligan just be the goofiest goofball, but at the same time, like, make people cry, I was like, that's who I want to be. I'm like, that's the style. I love it. It's so much fun.
It's so real. And then, like, it's really incredible how he can... Both of them do this in different ways, and Abria is also really, really good at doing this, of, like, taking what the players give them and, like, twisting it in a way that allows some sort of, like, cathartic moment for the character or for the player, either in a joyous moment or sad or anger or whatever, like, emotion that moment needs to play on. But they all do it so well, but also so differently.
They do.
It's one of those things where it's like, when we talk about, like, there is no wrong way of playing this game, like, watching all three of them, and what's the name, Murph also does, like, they're like they all do it differently, but they all do it, it's
right.
It
do
just,
it well.
It just goes to show that, like, no, you just find your voice in that. And, like, but then there is, of course, we always have to say the caveat of, like, the players themselves are also a factor in that, because these are people who are playing with people who are, like, their close friends.
Yeah.
In some cases, their literal spouses. Like, they're trusted, like, close people to them. Like, they're not playing with strangers. So, like, you always have to take that with a grain of salt. And again, always the big red flashing neon sign behind me. They are professional actors and professional comedians and professional improvisers. Like, this is what they do.
Yeah.
So, like, don't compare yourself to them unless you are a real theater kid and, like, you have those kind of chops. But, like, you can do some of what they do, but don't, like, hold yourself to that standard.
Yeah, just bring in the certain flavor. Like, I love how loud he gets, because I always, like, I'm a loud person, so I've always tried to been like, okay, I'm gonna try and not be, like, super loud, but he's like, like, laughing at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, that's amazing. It makes it so good. And so I was just running a game this past Friday, and I was playing the Imp King, Baelith, and somebody had made a joke, and I just, like, like, went all out, and all the players, like, jumped a little bit. I was like, that's right.
Oh, did you do the Final Fantasy X laugh?
And, like,
it was so good.
God,
that was it.
Yeah. And I hope I hope none of them ever hear this, but Brendan Mulligan in particular, because it's funny you bring up his laugh, because the other day, his fiance's Instagram, she posted, like, a clip of her doing, like, stand-up, and there's a point where you can very clearly hear Brendan laughing in the audience because he has such a distinct, loud laugh. And I'm like, what is do I need to like talk to some, why can I recognize this stranger's laugh in the background of a video?
No. My gosh. It's so bad. I went to it's just a side note, I went to a podcast con that I've been listening to since like 2011, and it is the freakiest thing to recognize someone by their voice.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know their name. I just knew that voice. I knew their character's name. It was the freakiest thing. But yeah, like, no, that's my laugh too in an audience. Like, if anybody's recording it, you're hearing me. So I'm like, I relate so much with him.
Oh, man. Well, we're already talking about it. So let's
the plugs.
Let me ask
Lisa.
the question.
The plugs. Noel's like plugs early.
Well, okay, whatever. Noel can fight me.
We should like
before we
this.
whatever. Before we get any further into D&D and nerd discussion, if you're listening to this, if you've made it this far into it, and if you're liking what you hear, if you're planning on continuing to listen, why don't you look us up on the internet and all the places that you can find things on the internet, such as Instagrams and Facebooks and
We're on all
Tweeters and Tumblr.
I got us on Facebook. We're on all the social media now.
We're on all of them. Oops, all dragons.
Ones that matter.
Yeah. Even the ones that kind of don't, such as all of them.
Tumblr?
Hey now.
You're the one who
You're
said.
starting a fight.
You're the one who's told me multiple times, Lisa. Like, I don't know what to do with this.
No, I never said I don't know what to do with this.
Okay.
I said that you don't know what to do with
Okay,
this.
fair enough. Okay, you know what? That's fair.
Check yourself. Currently on the Tumblr, it is mostly Dimension 20 Never After memes, but like that's you can't use it. There is no professional way of using a Tumblr. Anyways,
It's just a bunch
that's
of
not
things.
the point. We also want to give a big shout out to our friends over at Flynn's Gaming. You can, every now and again, you can find Varun there on their D&D nights running some games. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yes, Flynn's Arcade, if you're in South Florida, if you're in the Margate area, every Wednesday they have D&D at 7 in the evening, and at the first Saturday of every month, they have another fella running some D&D at 1 in the afternoon. So give them a look if you're in the area. They are our friends, and they're a good community to be part of. I also do a lot of the Gunpla building over there, like I mentioned. Just all my homies over there, we just get together and we just have a good time building models and robots and stuff.
Yeah, isn't there also like a X-Wing night and stuff?
Yeah, we'll do Warhammer, we'll do X-Wing. Like, they do a lot of things, so give them a look. And then last plug for us is just check out our Patreon if you really like what you're doing. Throw us a couple bucks. It absolutely helps us. It'll let us get out to more cons and get out to more events a lot easier. And also give you previews for upcoming episodes. You'll be able to see those early, and you'll be able to see like unedited versions of some episodes, so you can see some of the stuff we cut out. So patreon.com/OopsAllDragons. Yippee.
Yippee! Alright, so, Charlene, I have a very important question.
Yes.
What happened to you? Why are you a nerd? What's the media that you first like encountered? Like, how did you get into up to the point where
What
like
happened
Dungeons
to
and
you?
Dragons felt like a good idea?
To a therapist.
I was going to say that is the best way to ask that question, especially since I'm a therapist. What happened to you?
Who did this to you?
Who did this to you?
Why are you
What
like
happened?
this?
Why are you here? Actually, it's a pretty interesting story. I did not know I was a nerd. I knew I was a nerd, but I wasn't exposed to nerd culture or D&D until college. And I had a friend who was on the fencing team because I joined the fencing team.
Nice.
Of course, you're going to find all the nerds at the fencing team. And they were like, hey, we're going to play a game. Do you want to play? And I was like, yes, please. And the rest is history. I actually still talk to the person who DM'd that game. Shout out to Kathleen. I always joke with her. She started this whole journey. She's the one who got me going.
What edition?
It was 3.5 at the time because I'm old. And I played a ranger that had a animal companion that she mind melded with, and when it would find traps, it would say cinnamon or some like strange things, and we had to figure out what cinnamon meant. We finally figured out cinnamon was, yes, there is a trap, because when he would say cinnamon and we ran into a trap, we were like, oh, okay, so that's an affirmative.
Maybe
experimentation
a correlation here.
Yeah. But it was tons of fun. I remember the one thing that I will always remember from that game is one of the players rolled a nat 1 on an attack on a goblin, and the goblin got stuck to the blade. And they were trying to shake it off. Their whole next turn was trying to shake it off of their sword. So it was a really, really fun game. Obviously, I was hooked by then.
Were you guys doing any books, or was it all homebrew in someone's own world?
Yeah, it was all homebrew. My DM had just made up. There was a dragon involved. We ended up talking to a dragon. That was pretty fun. Although one of the funniest stories was I didn't know how D&D worked yet. Mm-hmm. So we had just beaten a whole bunch of clerics or cultists in this one room, and we tried to go through to the next room, but there was a wall of fire, like a trap. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how D&D worked, so I decided to take one of the clerics and throw them through the wall of fire to see if that would turn off the trap. It didn't, and then my DM was like, now you have the smell of burning flesh and a firewall. And I was like, I didn't know.
Hey, listen, I would not have done any different. Sometimes you just gotta experiment. You gotta,
it's like, he's gotta go through every day, so, maybe if I chuck him through as like a key, I don't know. They laughed forever and still tease me about it today. Remember that time?
Throw the body.
Listen, I'm behind you on that. I support that. What was the animal companion?
It was a wolf.
Classic.
Yeah, and I really loved it because we didn't mind meld right away. I found a book, and I don't know any 3.5 mechanics, whether this was homebrew or whether this was an actual thing. I'm not sure. But I mind melded with the wolf, and my character's eyes turned amber, and they had a streak of white hair after they mind melded with the wolf. So it was pretty
That's almost
exciting.
Certainly a homebrew thing.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool to be able to kind of be talking to the wolf. But again, he would say random shit, and I'd be like, okay, I have to figure out what that means. Great.
Because it's a wolf. It's kind of dumb. All right. So my big question, especially for a college game, did you guys finish the campaign?
We did, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the dragon at the end. The dragon kind of explained what was going on. I cannot remember what the explanation was, but and we ended because I think exams were coming up. So we ended, and that was that. That was the end of my first game. So it was pretty cool.
How long did you guys go?
I think it was probably like 3 or 4 months. It was a shorter game.
Okay.
But because we were at college, we could meet like every week. So yeah, we all lived on campus.
Yeah, luxury.
Yeah. I know. That was the most depressing part about graduating, was not having all of my friends living right in the same place that I'm at.
Oh, man. And then, so that was 3.5. Numbers galore. So I believe since then you've made the jump to 5th edition, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah. What's your feelings? Because I know there's some people who like 2nd edition or advanced or whatever one they learned on, like that's their ride or die. But what's your feeling on going to the newest version here?
So like I said, I started on 3.5 technically, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I didn't know any of the rules. I built a character. That was about it. Played a few games after that, and then 4E came out shortly after. And so I played a lot of
forever.
Yeah. Well, we played a lot of Dark Sun stuff. I was a Dragonborn. That was pretty cool. But then switching, when 5e came out, I definitely switched, because it's definitely, instead of having to remember, +5 for advantage or, all that different kind of stuff, it was just like advantage or disadvantage. It definitely was also a lot easier to teach people. When I started DMing, I'm the nerd of my groups wherever I'm at, pretty much. I'm like the nerdiest of the nerd. And so I am the one that exposes everybody else to the nerddom. And so
It's a valuable thing to do.
Exactly. I actually had a mom's group when my son was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a mom's group, and it was technically a Christian mom's group.
Oh,
and I got
tell us about this.
Whoa. You're blowing my mind.
Whoa.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, like, I have more. It was a Christian mom's group, and we all were super supportive. It was a great mom's group. When you think of a mom's group, like a lot of people think of like everybody judging each other. That is the complete opposite of what was happening. And so we had moms' nights out where the mentor moms would watch the kids, and we would go out together. And so one of them was like, "Hey, do you want me to run a D&D game?" Because they knew I was always talking about it and things like that. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I had like 6 or 7 people sitting around my kitchen table who had never even heard of Dungeons and Dragons before. So teaching 5e was a lot easier for that. Again, from that game, one of the most memorable moments was when one of my friends had to pick what their spiritual weapon looked like. And let's just say it ended up being a certain body part.
You can say it like it's fine.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I didn't know.
No, like we could curse.
It was like,
you can say whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, a super big like dick, like dildo dick. It was like beating on the the monsters and stuff, and it actually killed a few of them. So it was hilarious. So that's
Christian mobs getting down.
Yeah. I'm corrupting them all.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I used 5e in that instance.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
And
I mean, like, that's the thing that I feel like was the thing about 5e is that, like, it really allows for that kind of, like, a little bit more spontaneous kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you've never played, but as long as you have at least one person at the table who has, and, like, preferably that's the DM, but not, like, like, you can play it.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of, like, the rules, you'll figure them out as they come up.
Right. Yeah. And I had them do, like, a skill challenge.
Nice.
I think
I love bringing those back from 4th edition.
Yeah, I love skill challenges, especially with new players, because it really gets their imagination going.
You have to be creative.
Yeah, and so, like, that it actually, like, gets them more familiar with their character and, you know, what their character's flavor is, you know, like, spiritual weapon. What is your spiritual weapon? So, you know, it definitely is really good.
And it allows them to potentially, you know, explore doing wacky things like, how can I use intimidation to move this rock?
Yes, I intimidate the rock.
I would say it could be something like it. I always say it has to. Whenever I do those, I always say it has to make sense. So, like, you're not going to intimidate the rock, but I can intimidate someone into moving the rock for me.
Exactly. Or I was thinking of, like, I intimidate the ants underneath of the rock to lift up the rock and move it.
That's cool. All right. And then last nerd, especially TTRPG questions. Have you played any other systems beyond D&D?
Yes, I actually I love. Well, the author is problematic. I love Call of Cthulhu.
As soon as you started saying the author's problematic, I'm like, she's gonna say Call of Cthulhu, isn't she?
Yeah, it's so good. I love that game, and sometimes I feel so bad that I love that game, but
I'm right there with you. I actually haven't really had a chance to play Call of Cthulhu, but I like.
Neither have I.
I have the rule book. I've watched people play it.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten around to actually playing it. I want to real bad. It
is my jam. I love the whole investigation, mystery, horror combination. And it just really, instead of, like, you know, combat, it's very story oriented. You use your skills to make the story go. You know what I mean? And so, and the story is, you know, always something about an eldritch horror that, you know, you see out of the corner of your eye, you know, type of thing. So, I had the one DM that I've been playing with for, oh God, it has to be like 7 or 8 years now.
Wow.
I found on Roll20, and shout out to Naomi. They had started with a Call of Cthulhu game, and I had just finished I think it was Dunwich Horror, reading it. And so we integrated some of the character stuff there, and I ended up, like, my character ended up morphing into some eldritch horror at the end that I had no idea was going to happen. It was super awesome. So I've been hooked on that ever since. I have played No Thank You Evil. Actually, in my Geek Therapeutics training, I had to play No Thank You Evil. We played Call of Cthulhu. We played D&D every other week. I'm trying to think of the other systems that we played. I recently have played the new Avatar, The Last Airbender RPG.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I love Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Of course it's a thing, but this is the first time we're hearing.
Yeah. It's amazing because it was a Kickstarter. And so when they did the Kickstarter, I was like,
yeah, I did vaguely hear about this. Yeah, go.
I was like, back at the highest level. Yes, please. All the things, all the things. And so I finally got my books and my dice and everything like that. The Kickstarter had shipped out. And I was like, okay, I want to learn how to play this game. And so the company actually that did the Kickstarter and everything has games that you can sign up for where they're DM'd or GM'd by people who have played the game like in testing phases and have played it for a couple years. So I got to join that, a 2-shot for that, and that was a whole heck of a lot of fun. I was an earthbender, and I took out some Dai agents. I made them go in the water. It was fun. Nice. Yeah, and it's the Power by the Apocalypse, very similar to the Power of the Apocalypse system. Okay. So at least that's what I'm told. I'm looking into the Power of the Apocalypse system because apparently when I GM'd for my Geek Therapeutics group, they were like, you would do really well in Power by the Apocalypse. So I'm trying to get more into that system as well.
Awesome.
So a lot.
And actually, speaking of your therapeutics, can you explain a little bit about that?
I was gonna say, I think we're done with the intro, so yeah.
Let the conversation flow. Yes,
Tell you all of my secrets. Okay, so like I said, I found this GM Naomi 7 years ago, and we were playing a D&D session where I was playing a Bullywug bard, Brit Brat, who would sing. It was great. And I myself had a bit of social anxiety around playing the character because, again, I'm a very loud, boisterous, I get excited, sometimes I talk too much, and all that different kind of stuff. So I was like, I don't know if these people actually like me or not. And then when we took over a ship, everyone pointed to my character as the captain. And I was like, what? And they were like, no, you have the best ideas. Like, you need to be the captain of the ship. And I was like, oh, you like me. And that was around 2016, 2017. And by that time, I had been in the field for the therapy field for 7 years. I'm a clinical social worker, doing individual therapy I had started off with kids and then found out, teenagers and older teenagers and adults were more my speed. But I was like, you know what? This could be really useful in therapy if I applied it. So in 2017, I started looking around to see if anybody else had this idea. Because again, as a therapist and a professional, you don't want to do anything to, do no harm is our first, ethics, principle. So I was looking around to see if anybody had been doing it, and I didn't see anything. So I kind of sat on it for a little bit. But then 2019, I interviewed with a college, and in the interview with my boss, who is not a nerd, and my other boss, who's not a nerd, I said I want to run D&D therapeutic groups. And they went,
what?
Okay.
Oh, they didn't go, what is that?
No. They said no, because they knew what D&D was because the kids on campus played it so much. So they had heard of it before and everything. And they were like, that will fit our population perfectly. Nice. Yes, please. And that's how it all started. And then, so I actually I run groups in the community for adults, therapeutically applied role-playing game groups, There's social skills groups. And most of my clients are like ages 30 plus. Just working on either social skills or mental health goals or basically whatever they need to be working on at the time. So that's what I do. I run D&D therapeutic groups.
So how do you approach that? Do you approach it as just like, hey, we're going to play a game? Yeah, I guess the question is like, how does that work? How do you approach that?
How much planning goes into this?
Yeah, so
like what does a game look like? Like, are you limited by time? Do you actually have like a whole group together, or is this like a one-on-one thing?
Yeah, those were all my questions when I started. And there were no answers.
Yeah, you're a pioneer in the field.
Yeah, I had to figure it out. So what I've come up with through trial and error is an 18-week session split up into 3 6 weeks kind of levels, 3 levels. There is a lot of planning that goes into it. So what I have people do is I have them help them identify their mental health goals as well as their social skills goals, anything they want to work on. And then we take it and we build the character. Like if a person has some issues with like anger issues, so we might make them a vengeance paladin to kind of act that out in game to figure out how to deal with it, what's appropriate, what's not, that type of stuff in a safe space. And then we take you build the actual character, and then I have them complete a backstory. Each character has to have a backstory. And so I have them take their goals and make them their characters' goals as well.
Nice.
So go ahead.
No, I was saying nice. And to the point where you said you create the character sheet, do you, because like you can roll dice normally for like scores and stuff like that, but I'm assuming you tailor it a bit more to the person and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so the character honestly isn't the most important part. It's the backstory. Sure. You can pick parts that can, kind of integrate, like I said, with the vengeance paladin, or something like that. But I just have them created on D&D Beyond. So that
my point there is like mechanically, if someone is strong, do you make their character strong, or like if they want to be strong, do you make them weak physically to start with, and then they work their way up to it or something like that?
Yeah, it all depends on the direction they want to go. We talk about it because there's I think there was 3 options. You can play you as a character. You can play your opposite as your character to kind of give you some challenges, or you can play the ideal self. So whatever your ideal self looks like and those characteristics, then you can play that character as well.
Interesting.
So the client gets to pick, and each one is challenging within itself, and it depends on where they're at in their therapeutic journey. How challenging, each person makes it.
And I feel like that's a very intuitive way of approaching that, because I feel like I know a lot of players who, like, that is essentially how they approach character building. If they're not just like, oh, I thought of a cool character concept, and so now I'm going to go build this character. I know people who approach it that way, where it's like, this is the character that is me. This is the character that is the opposite of me. This is the character that has some of me and some that is not me. And then this is the character that is the ideal me. Like that is definitely like one of the ways that I approach character building too. So that just makes a lot of sense.
Right. And so you just apply it, and then apply the goals into the character building as well as the background. And in the background, the questions are, what's motivating you to adventure? What's your main goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And things like that. And so you can take, like, say someone, has trauma, and they don't speak up for themselves very often. Mm-hmm. You don't recreate the trauma, obviously, mm-hmm. but you have their character, if they're playing themselves, you have their character have problems speaking up for themselves, like what they want or where they would want to go during an adventure or what their opinions are. And so that character is also working on that goal to speak up more.
So are these one-on-one sessions?
No. So it's actually a group of 5, which makes it mm-hmm. definitely a lot of work on my end.
That's a lot to juggle.
Yes, because I'm juggling.
In a
You're
normal
juggling
situation.
5 people's.
Yes.
Yeah.
All at once. Yeah, and being a DM and a therapist at the same time, trying to create opportunities on the fly for knowing everyone's goals. If something happens and I'm like, oh, if I do this, mm-hmm. it'll help them speak up more. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have the NPC say this. And as a DM, you can do as much planning as you want, but
the plan very rarely survives contact with the players.
Exactly. So it definitely is a lot to do at once. We play an 1.5-hour game for that reason, because I wouldn't be able to concentrate past that, because it is a lot to ask. But it's definitely a whole heck of a lot of fun for me, because I get to kind of combine my 2 passions, which is awesome. D&D and therapy.
That's real cool.
And helping people.
So, wait, I had a question and now it left me.
I have one because you mentioned it's in the group, Charlene. Mm-hmm. So, do you have like X card rules in place in case things do ever get too much for a player? They know that you have some sort of mechanism in place so that you as a
basically
group
like safety mechanism.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have them. That was one before I even started the groups. I found out about the RPG consent form and X cards and everything. So every person that plays at my table, they get the RPG consent form and they send it back. So I know, what certain, what things they're okay with, what things they aren't. Mm-hmm. And then I have a variation of the X card system. I don't know where I heard it. Maybe it was Lines and Veils or something else. But we have the X card, which is like immediately stop. We have the N card, which is we're getting near a topic. Let's steer it in a different direction. And then there's the O card, which is checking in with the rest of the table to make sure everybody's okay. So I kind of put those into place as well because I felt like those were important in a group setting for, when you're doing therapeutic stuff, that would be important to have in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those things are good to have in place in a normal game as it is. But because there is another layer of sensitivity that you do have to have DMing the type of game that you do. It's vital. In that situation.
Definitely.
When you're setting up these groups, when you approach a client and say like, "Hey, I want to try something," do you ever get like pushback of like what's the reaction generally? What kind of reactions do you get when you suggest to somebody like, "Hey, let's play a game about this"? Hey, I want to make a fun little game about your problems.
So, The funny part is that the first group I did, I talked to clients that I had already been seeing individually, and knew they might benefit from it. So they already knew me well enough that we had that therapeutic rapport.
Mm-hmm.
That they kind of trusted me to do, what was right. And honestly, from that point on, people have been finding me.
Oh.
It's obviously I do marketing and stuff like that. But I I changed my Psychology Today profile, which every therapist in the U.S. has a Psychology Today profile.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of making it, here's me, here's what I do cognitive behavioral therapy, blah, 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 I'm like, are you a nerd? Do you relate to your world? Yeah, exactly.
Are you a nerd derogatory?
Are you somebody that relates to your life through your passions? Do you need to work on social skills? Have you been late diagnosed as neurodivergent? Well, here you are.
Do I have an offer for you?
Oh,
exactly.
My goodness.
So, and I do individual therapy. So the way I like to run my groups is they come for the groups once a week, but they also see me for individual therapy on top of it to be able to process what happened in group, how they're feeling about it, and just like normal everyday stuff. I don't want it to all be focused on D&D, So they'll come see me once a week for individual therapy and once a week for the group.
And then, I don't know how to ask this question. I don't know if I'm
you're
asking
fine.
This correctly. There is then the layer of like patient confidentiality. Since you're doing it in a group, like how then do you approach like building the scenarios and stuff so that it then doesn't like breach that trust and also that like the legality of it.
Mm-hmm. So with any social skills groups or therapeutic groups, you always have people sign informed consents. Even if I was running a regular therapy group, you sign an informed consent that says, all of your information is confidential, but the people in the group are in the group. So they're going to hear what you say. Yeah. And that's the whole point, is to kind of have other people that are your peers, people you see that are kind of on your same level, to talk to instead of talking to a therapist who is seen as the professional. You know what I mean? So all of those, all of the stories stay confidential within the group, which makes my marketing very hard.
You have no testimonials.
No testimonials. I honestly cannot. I cannot even do anonymous testimonials because of our ethics and my licensing. So it's definitely a little bit difficult to do, but they all know that it's confidential, and the parts that they can talk about, outside a group is more the, my character did this, my character did that.
The actual game portion of it.
Yeah, right. But the actual, if they know they're hitting a therapeutic theme or something like that, they know not to share that outside of the group.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sense.
Yeah.
For one for me that is like that, it's really interesting to have you on because there's I wouldn't say an undercurrent. There's like a certain subsection of players who will go on and say, they use D&D as their therapy, which which isn't true in 99.9% of the game. Like, you're probably the only one that I know who actually does that truly.
Yeah.
And like Lisa said, there are some folks who use D&D to explore things with themselves, but like, it's not a therapy session. Like, you know, you can't, that would be a lot to be putting on your DM and the other players. So
it's that question of like, you know, putting too much on your friends and family where, like, you know, they haven't necessarily consented to to helping you, you know, untie the Gordian knot that is your brain.
Yeah, my question essentially is like, what's your reaction to that sentiment? Because I'm assuming you've heard it as well.
Oh yeah. And so we have a saying, Dungeons and Dragons can be therapeutic, but it's not therapy unless there's a therapist at the head.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a coping mechanism. It's a way to, you know, escape our post-capitalistic hellscape is society. And so, people use it as a, you know, coping mechanism to deal with everyday life. That's therapeutic, but it's not therapy. There's a big difference. And so seeing as people kind of, and that was the whole thing was, you put yourself into your character whether you like it or not, because you're the one who's playing the character, you're the one who's making the decisions, you're the one who's, you know, interacting with the world. There's no death of the author here. Right, exactly. So that's happening anyway. It's just now training the GM to, you know, be a therapeutic GM as well. Now, there are therapeutic GMs out there who are not therapists. They're trained to just know when to kind of pull back on things, because they're getting too close to that therapy, you know, type of situation. But, you know, obviously it's already happening. People like to explore themselves through their characters anyway. So why not just make the GM a therapist as well? So that's basically what I've done, so that I can handle that, you know, if there's trauma going on, or if I need to stop and process something with the group or anything like that. That's not overwhelming for me, and everyone who signs up for the group knows that that's what they're in for.
You know what I think about all the time? Whenever I do think about, like, sort of using D&D, you know, obviously communication between the player and the DM, and, you know, making sure that everybody at the table is comfortable with it, of, like, using a scenario to sort of help push not just the character but the player to sort of process something, is campaign 1 of Critical Role. Varun, leave the room. Varun, leave the room.
I'm gonna mute again.
This is just between me and you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you've watched obviously all of campaign 1.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm about to talk about, right?
Liam. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about that so often. And, like, how, as a like, how do you feel? I guess, like, how do you feel that was handled? Was that a good example, or was that something that was so situational that, like, if anybody wants to try to emulate that, they really need to proceed with caution?
Yeah, so I think the proceed with caution, or just don't do it is the best answer to that.
Yeah.
Unless you're therapeutically trained. It worked out, I think, because they were such good friends, and their jobs are acting and, you know, voice acting and everything like that. I think it was kind of a perfect place for Liam to be able to process that. And that's kind of what happens in everyday D&D games, right? Like somebody goes through something and then they bring it to the table unintentionally or intentionally. And so, you know, teaching people what the boundaries are, like what's appropriate to address and what's not. You know, that's more, I'm all for, you know, y'all want to, you know, get real, you know, deep into problems and stuff like that. That's fine, but don't call it therapy. It's you all helping each other out with, you know, problems like you would, you know, with a friend, but it's not therapy. You know what I mean? But I think it helped Liam. I think he said it helped him through that whole situation. So I think it worked out. That's great. But again, it's a very like kind of tightrope walking situation there.
Yeah.
And just for you, Charlene, the reason I say just go on mute whenever Lisa brings up a show is like I've watched actual play shows as well. It's just I've been off of them for a while, so that's just my go-to at this point.
Yeah, no, it's completely fine. No, when people are like, "What show should I watch to get to know how to play D&D?" I'm like, not Critical Role, because you're gonna look
Adventure Zone. Honestly,
yes,
Adventure
exactly. I say podcasts. I'm like, do podcasts because they're 30 minutes or an hour and you're done. Yeah. You know, now I would definitely say Dimension 20's a good option as well, because it's only like 1 or 2 hours long, but
most Dimension 20's, I don't know if all of them, but at least the ones that I've watched, they futz around with the rules a lot, so if you're trying to learn basic 5e, don't start with Dimension 20, actually.
Yeah, definitely. If you're trying to learn the rules.
I would say if you want to learn, play it. Just go play it.
I mean, yeah.
It's hard to get a group together, especially as adults.
That's how Lisa learned to be a DM. I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to be the DM
literally
today.
just threw me in the deep end.
You're going to be the DM.
Thanks. We just jump into this.
Yeah. Because, well, Varun, for context, what we were talking about is, you know, how in season 2 of Legend of Vox Machina, what we just saw, the whole Vax becoming the champion of the Raven Queen thing, in the actual live play campaign, that was a point in the campaign that the person who plays Vax, Liam O'Brien, there was something going on in his personal life that, like, nobody needs to know what it is. Like, it's not anybody's business, but there was something that, like, there was some sort of turmoil, and basically he was on the brink of, like, leaving the show because he, like, had some shit to take care of. And when Mercer was like, you know, you're the fate touched, and, like, made him the champion of the Raven Queen, like, that almost, like, put him over the edge and made him leave the show.
Yeah.
I can't deal with this.
It was pretty intense. Yeah.
It was very emotionally intense, and, like, there's a reason why, like, after that point in the show, like, he becomes so, like, the character becomes so moody and, like, pensive, and just wins the emo boy competition between him and Percy, because, like, there was just, like, legitimately some stuff going on behind the scenes that, like, was affecting how he played the character. That's why when you ask the question sometimes of, like, whether the audience affects how the game was played, like yes and no. Anyway, this is not. I have used up my allotted Vox Machina time. Thank you so much.
I'm totally cool with it.
I've been banned. I only get 90 seconds of Critical Role per episode.
One thing I haven't mentioned is that the way I kind of write the story is I don't use pre-written content. I did my first group just to kind of make it easier, but now that I started in 2019, so it's been a little bit, what I do is I take all 5 of those backstories that those clients have written, and then I write the campaign around their backstories. So I actually create the world around the connections they have, or, you know, the goals that they're working on, or whatever. It's like a completely personalized campaign for them. So writing an entire homebrew campaign, basically, on top of doing therapy, on top of running the group, on top of all that stuff, is definitely a lot to do.
But it makes sense, because, like, you wouldn't want to use pre-made content, because it's essentially a railroad, and you'd have to essentially make your own stuff to kind of fit the therapeutic aspect into it anyway, most of the time. And even if you did, like, your own ongoing homebrew world, there's the same issue of, like, if the world is independent of what you're trying to accomplish. It's just so much easier to just take what your goal is, start from there, and then build the world accordingly. Like, that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, because your goal isn't necessarily, like, your particular intention with your games isn't necessarily just to, like, tell a story or whatever, but it is, like, this external goal outside of the game itself. So, like, getting railroaded, or, like, you know, having this, like, prescribed goal in your campaign, like, it just makes a lot more sense for you to have to, like, go in and make it custom.
Yeah.
Especially also because of time constraint, because as you said, you have, like, if it's like a game a week, you have 18 games to get all 5 of these people to have some sort of catharsis.
And
insane. Every time I
work
about
well
it,
under
I'm like,
pressure.
And, like, how many of these games have you run so far? Like, how long have you been doing this?
Since 2017. No, 2019, sorry.
Whoa.
That was fun. I started a new job in the fall of 2019, and then 2020 hit. Luckily, I had already been playing on Roll20, so I knew how to set the whole thing up. So I was able to keep going with that group.
Nice.
With that college group. But it wasn't until 2021 that I started running groups in the community under my own private practice. I rebranded my practice into Nerd Adventure Therapy 20, which abbreviates to Nat 20, by the way. And so
sometimes you got to make the abbreviation work for you.
Heck yeah.
That's clever.
And it was my DM from the 7-year DM, Naomi again. I was like, this is what I'm thinking about calling my company. And they were like, you should add a 20 at the end. And I was like, why? They're like, the abbreviation would be Nat 20. And I'm like, oh my God. That's amazing.
Awesome.
But yeah, so how many groups? I'm trying to count. Probably about 6 or 7.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do they run concurrently or one after the other?
No, one after the other. So at one point I was running 4 different games a week.
Whoa.
That was too much.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
A week?
Yeah.
What?
Again, even in a non-therapy setting, that's a lot.
Yeah, no. Like, in 2020, I was running a game and I was in 3 other games. And, like, I managed to keep that up even, like, during the pandemic, during the height of, like, I'm not doing anything else. I think I managed to keep that up for about, like, 4 months before being like, nope.
Yeah. No, so the most right now that I'll do out in the community is 2 groups at once.
Yeah, that makes sense. Reasonable.
Yeah. Because, again, like, adapting after every, session, depending on what the characters do and, where they're going and their goals and the story. And because I really do also pride myself on telling a good story. So it's like that, all the pressure of being a DM, trying to tell a good story and have people have fun, and have people be working on, their therapy goals at the same time. So, it's definitely a lot, but it is hella fun.
Do you still play any, like, personal games?
I try, so I do play personal games. When I'm a player, it works. I don't really have a problem because I don't have to plan anything. I could just show up, all that stuff. I tried running a game for a couple of people, like, one Saturday night, and I was like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm shot by the end of the week.
Yeah, because, like, again, if you're just, like, playing a normal game and running 2 games a week as a DM, you need to decompress. Yep. And then, like, you have the added therapeutic layer. So, like, I can't imagine then going and trying to, like, then DM another game without having some sort of decompression. Like, how do you decompress after these games? Like, what is then your, like, outlet?
So, that's a good question. We, as a therapist, they kind of drill into us that you have to have coping mechanisms to even be a therapist.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you burn out quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to, I'm really having fun with the business end of the Nat 20 stuff, because it's keeping me busy with finances and marketing and, getting digital artists and coming up with ideas on in the future how I want to market. I also bought a couple of 3D printers to be able to print out minis for my campaigns. I have my players go on to Hero Forge, create their custom mini, and then give me the STL file, and I'll print them out. Yeah.
Whoa.
So there's tons of other stuff to do, but also I'm a big hiker. When you are around people all day,
yeah,
and people are talking at you all day. Again, I love my job, but you
just gotta take a walk.
Yes, I need to be in the woods. I always say to people, like, they're like, aren't you afraid of, like, bears? And I'm like, no, I'd take a bear over a person anytime in the woods. The bear is scared of me. It'll go away. The person, maybe not. So I go out into the woods and just do a hike, and just kind of decompress that way, get a little exercise in, that type of stuff. I do have my son and my husband, so, doing stuff with them. But also I have an amazing professional support system. I have a mentor. I have a SCORE mentor, which is a small business mentor. I have an accountant who's amazing. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them. So, focusing on kind of the business part of it is something completely different. It's creative in a different way than writing a story, But hiking is the main thing. I'm like, no people, birds, good. Bears, okay. Snakes, don't care. No people. I go out there and walk along the river and collect shiny rocks and fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, collecting shiny rocks is very important as like a mental health tool. All right.
It is. I actually have them on my desk to fidget with when I'm talking to people, and I'm looking at them right now.
Yes. I mean,
my wife does the same thing.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
You do the same thing, Lisa.
I also do the same thing. That's also why I like D&D, because it gives me an excuse to buy dice. I won't lie. I bought my first set of dice before I ever even, like, had a game to play with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. I'm definitely a dice goblin. I even I got a fancy case that have my DM dice in them. And it's like literally a velvet lined case that has like 2x2 squares in it, and there's a plastic cover so you can see through the top of it, and it has like multiple layers. That's where I put my fancy dice.
Hell yeah.
My fancy dice. I've got metal dice, and they come in like a metal case, and there's like foam inserts for each one of them, so to make sure they don't get hit or chipped or anything. Even though they're metal, they're pretty hardy, but they're just like this is my nice set.
I have my set of Dispel dice that were like $65.
Yeah, I know.
And
same.
they come in this really beautiful case. And if you take out the insert, there's in gold foil written, "Please do not eat the dice."
Yeah.
You needed that one, Lisa.
They're so tasty. Okay.
You know, I
Wait
need
a minute
a reminder every now and again.
So I was really upset. I saw some company was making Valentine's dice.
Oh.
Was it Kraken?
And I don't know. I don't remember who it was. But they were like little Valentine's dice, right? Like there's little D20s, D8s, D4s and stuff. And they were in like the heart candy box. You know, like the I love you
hearts.
candy box or whatever.
Hearts. Yeah, conversation hearts.
They were actual dice and not candy. I was very upset.
I was gonna say, are they
Honestly,
candy? Because I've seen those before.
I was thinking about buying them. I was like, I don't know that I'd eat a whole bunch of them, but that would be fun to eat dice. And then I was like,
it would be so funny because it's like, you know how like, I don't know if your grandparents' house they ever just had like a random bowl of candy out.
yeah, oh yeah,
like
the candy bowl.
I kind of just want to have like a candy bowl of candy dice.
Yeah,
That'd be really funny.
Exactly. So whoever's out there listening to this and makes dice, I need some like candy dice.
Yeah, get a dice maker together with some sort of like patisserie.
Yeah,
candy
exactly.
maker. You know those. Have you ever seen those videos of those I think it's like those candy makers in like Australia or some shit where like, they've posted videos of them like molding the hot molten sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like
I need those guys to like make some dice. It'd be so easy.
It would. So let's whoever's out there, I will buy it.
Untapped market.
But yeah,
it's just to eat.
They actually there's Game to Grow did a Kickstarter where they did gummy like monsters and stuff.
Ooh.
So like
a jelly gelatinous cube.
Yeah, like so when you defeat it, you get to eat it.
It's just a square, but like maybe there's like those like sugar bones that you get at like a mall dispenser. You put water in and you turn it. You get those little sugar bones. You put those in like some Jello.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Write it down. Somebody write that down.
Yeah, write it down.
I'm gonna forget as soon as this recording ends, but like that is actually something I can just do.
Right, exactly. I can't wait for candy dice to actually be a thing.
Oh my god!
So I can eat a D20.
Oh my god! And with that brainstorming session, we get. I want to get our like what we ask everybody who comes on is is there a piece of advice or what do you know now about playing tabletop games that you would give yourself as a piece of advice like when you first started playing?
Oh, that's a good question. It's okay not to role play the first few years. I always felt like I was a really weak role player when I first started playing, because I was learning the game. Mm-hmm. So be patient with yourself as you're learning the mechanics. especially D&D. It is very crunchy. It is very, like, you know, you have to focus on that and learn your character and everything like that.
Mhm.
So that's okay. You're going to be focusing on the mechanics the first few years. And then once you play enough and you get comfortable enough with the mechanics, that's when roleplay tends to kick in. And so just be patient with yourself when, you know, you're starting the game. You're not going to be able to do Matt Mercer and Critical Role or, you know, Dimension 20 starting off. It's just not going to happen. But that's okay. It still can be a whole heck of a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. I love that. That
Awesome.
yeah. That's honestly really great advice, is give yourself room to grow. It's what I usually tell people when they're first making their characters and they want to make their characters badasses out of the gate, and it's like, no. Make them kind of shitty and be okay with being shitty for a couple of levels so that you have space to level up.
Yeah.
And that's making your characters that way, but also give yourself that right.
Mhm.
Give yourself the right to be shitty for a little while.
Yeah.
In the
I like
words
that.
of a great philosopher, Jake the dog from Adventure Time, you gotta be kind of bad at something before you get good at something.
Yeah,
Or however
exactly.
that line goes.
Yeah, that's why whenever I start a new system, I usually start as a fighter. Or like a
Oh.
combat person.
The most basic, I hit things with sword. That's all I do.
Yep. I'm like, I hit it again. The monk is very fun to play.
I hit it 3 times.
I hit it 5 times. Now it's dead. Yay!
I punch a ghost.
I mean, you could do that after a while, yeah.
I have magic fists. Yay! So yeah, no, that's why I always start off with like a martial character at first, because again, it's I swing my axe, and then you pay attention to everybody around you, you know, and what characters they're playing, and learn through, you know, osmosis, basically.
Yeah, that is fantastic. What are your pluggables? Tell us where to find you. Tell us what you do.
I got all sorts of them.
Oh man,
You have so much.
plug it up, baby.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Nat20Therapy. I have my website is www.nat20therapy.com. I have a podcast that I co-host with my co-host Benjamin, and it's called Mental Health Quest, where we go over diagnoses, what therapy looks like, you know, questions you should ask, you know, in your first intake session with your therapist. Then we go through diagnoses, and we're going through our treatment section right now. We just started off with geek therapy, so that was pretty fun. I think that is all of them.
Yeah, we went through this whole podcast and didn't mention you're also a podcaster.
No, you know, I forget it half of the time. Benjamin is so much better at marketing the podcast than I am. But yes, that podcast, we put it out there for, you know, maybe starting psychology or social worker or whatever, mental health professionals, but also for, you know, kind of the everyday person to understand, you know, what it feels like to have PTSD or anxiety or depression or whatever, to look out for signs and find resources for treatment and things like that. So.
I've listened to a couple of your episodes. I'm 100% not a therapist, and yes, I found them extremely interesting, very, very enlightening.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad, because that's just the whole point. All my clients would be like, "Well, I don't know how to do this." I was like, "I have a podcast episode on that."
Oh man.
Do I have a podcast for you?
Exactly. I'm like, not trying to self-promote or anything, but I literally did an episode on that. But,
I mean, hey, there's no better way than word of mouth.
yeah,
And
definitely.
I have absolutely caught myself, in conversations with people, and they'll go, yeah, I'd love to play, but I don't know where to start. And I go, well,
We got this
Exactly.
episode called
guy.
D&D 101.
yeah, literally the first, 2 or 3 episodes of this podcast.
Oh,
If
that's
you
awesome.
if no one ever listens to anything else, I'm here purely for the joy of the conversations. If anybody listens to anything of our show, I hope it's those first 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Cause we get into the basic ground floor of that stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to do a D&D 102 at some point. Just go into crazy weird stuff.
Yeah, we need to get into some more nitty gritty stuff. But this-
concentration spells.
Remembering concentration. You know what? Yeah. Might be something to call out there.
Yeah, we can discuss tools for remembering rules.
Oh boy.
Rule tools.
One last question for you, Charlene. Just because I listened to your podcast. So, who's your favorite Doctor?
Oh.
In Doctor Who.
There is a correct answer.
Mine's the 10th Doctor.
There you go.
David Tennant. Can't get any better than that.
There you go.
Although,
9?
9, yes, 9 is
Not
where
gonna hate.
I started.
Same.
Because that was the reboot, right?
Yeah.
I love Matt Smith. Any past that, I hadn't really watched too much. But if you want to go back to the classics, the 4th Doctor,
Tom Baker.
is my favorite. So,
he's good. I have a buddy who's an old Doctor Who head, and he's like, 4th Doctor is his favorite out of everybody.
Yeah. No. It's absolutely hilarious. There's this one episode where they're in a lighthouse, and his companion is an Amazonian warrior woman.
Okay.
Whatever. I don't know how she got there. Whatever. And the monster is literally this jellyfish thing that's 5 feet wide, and they're in a lighthouse and they're running away from it up the stairs, and it's slowly going up the stairs, and they're like, ah! And I'm like, you literally could outrun the thing. Just leave the lighthouse.
Just go. Just leave.
It's slowly climbing the stairs, and I'm like,
Doctor Who.
oh my gosh,
So
that's
dumb
so funny.
sometimes.
And then one of the ladies starts screaming, and the Amazonian woman, which is I don't know if this is funny or not, but the Amazonian woman was just slapped the other girl across the face and was like, "Get it together!" And I was like, that is hilarious. Oh my god!
Get together, woman.
This is the 1960s right here. This is amazing.
Oh my god.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm out of things to ask.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Maybe
you.
Next time we can talk again. I want to talk specifically about Eldritch horrors at some point. Would you like to come on?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like there's an untapped conversation in that direction. So
Yeah.
we will be speaking again.
We do
And that
welcome
is a
folks to
threat.
come back.
Yeah, no, and actually, like I said, Geek Therapeutics had us play Call of Cthulhu and, talk about how to apply it therapeutically. So, there are a couple of mechanics that are a little problematic in that game.
Yeah.
That you kind of have to deal with, but it can work. We deal with scary things every day.
Awesome.
It's true. All right. I think with that,
Mhm.
we're gonna go. We're gonna go home now.
Yay!
Episode.
that's an episode. Thank you so much for
Yay!
joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And to the listeners, thank you so much for listening through. Please go check out, the Nat 20 therapy and
Mental
all
health
these
quest.
things. And mental health quest and everything. And
Give us a like.
yeah,
give us a comment.
give
if
us
this was
your
helpful.
likes and comments and
all the
subscriptions
engagement.
and pocket change. Patreon.com/OopsAllDragons.
We will take your pocket change.
I will take your pocket change.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, go home. Bye.
Bye.
Bye!
Oops All Dragons is a group effort. Our show is edited by Noel Hernandez, our theme was composed by Brendan Lyons, and our logo art is by Azif On Q. Links to more of their work and their social media will be in the show notes. Find us on YouTube and Spotify, and check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Oops All Dragons.